Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today, we're going to present From Idea to AI Product Fast, how Cordant AI makes it all possible. My name is Anjelica Ambrosio. I am a developer advocate here at Mirantis. I'm passionate about developer advocacy and building meaningful connections with the developer community. I have a background spanning technical marketing, platform engineering, and DevRel. I combine both my passions for tech and education by creating content that makes complex text easier to understand for everyone of varying skill levels, with guides, workshops, tutorials, or webinars just like this one. And with me here today, I have Ben.
Hi, everyone. I'm Benjamin Lamb. I'm a technical marketing engineer at Mirantis. I have a background in working with Kubernetes and cloud native infrastructure. And I spend most of my time building and automating test environments and creating demos and hands-on walkthroughs for developers. I also attend cloud native community events and conferences, so I get to hear directly about the problems developers are dealing with.
Thank you, Ben. And for those who aren't aware, Mirantis has been building cloud infrastructure for decades. We were founded in 1999, and today we're a global team of more than 600 employees. We're also recognized as private cloud pioneers, including playing a key role in the early formation of the OpenStack Foundation. Fast forward to today, and Mirantis supports some of the most in-demand modern cloud use cases, including secure AI inference at the edge, sovereign cloud deployments that require strict compliance and data residency, VMware replacements, and scalable private and multi-cloud platforms. What really differentiates Mirantis is the depth of the platform capabilities we deliver. We provide hard multi-tenancy and isolation, true hybrid cloud portability without vendor lock-in, and built-in FinOps capabilities for cost visibility, metering, and governance. So with that out of the way, we have just finished all our intros. So we're going to talk about from idea to AI product and what challenges that may bring, what Mirantis has as a solution, how our solution works, and then we're going to do a demo, do a key takeaways, and then we're going to close everything up. So from idea to AI product, have a great idea for an AI product. Well, it's worth grounding ourselves in the reality most teams face today when trying to create an AI product. Provisioning GPUs and Kubernetes clusters for an AI product is often slow, expensive, and operationally painful. GPU capacity is limited. Cluster setup and tuning can take weeks, and reliability and compliance requirements add even more overhead. On top of that, it's easy to end up paying for underutilized GPU resources while still struggling to meet performance expectations. And the challenge doesn't stop there. Most AI stacks are built using fragmented tooling, a patchwork of disconnected platforms for infrastructure, Kubernetes, GPUs, observability, security, and model operations. This fragmentation makes development and debugging slower, increases integration and maintenance costs, and reduces visibility into what's actually happening. Finally, we have lifecycle management. Lifecycle management is still too manual to this day. Upgrades, patching, scaling, policy enforcement, and troubleshooting often depends on human coordination, which in itself introduces risks and slows down delivery and makes it harder to operate securely at scale. So, what's actually slowing you down from getting from idea to AI product? Your infrastructure. At Mirantis, we see three critical infrastructure challenges today. In order to build infrastructure strong enough to host AI workloads, let's take a look at some of the challenges and consideration to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about three biggest challenges we consistently see when organizations try to build and scale their AI infrastructure. Number one, tech stack complexity. The AI ecosystem has matured rapidly, but that maturity will come with complexity. There are countless frameworks, platforms, tools, Kubernetes distributions, GPU drivers, networking requirements, and so on. Everything has to integrate correctly. Everything has to scale. Everything has to stay updated. And the more components you add to your stack, the more fragile and difficult the system becomes. Building, integrating, and scaling AI services across this ecosystem is not simple, and it's rarely standardized. That complexity slows teams down before they even begin delivering value. Number two, operational efficiency. Even after the stack is assembled, the real challenge begins operating it efficiently. AI workloads are resource intensive. GPU utilization matters, provisioning speed matters, lifecycle management matters. You're currently balancing how do we maximize ROI on expensive GPU infrastructure? How do we keep innovating without increasing operational overhead? How do we avoid locking ourselves into one vendor's ecosystem? Without automation and standardization, operations quickly become manual and reactive, and that directly impacts profitability and speed. Lastly, customer experience. So, with those two challenges in mind, today's enterprise customers don't want to assemble all that themselves, right? They want a turnkey AI ecosystem that just works. They want fast onboarding, pre configured environments, reliable performance, clear governance, and lifecycle management. If delivering AI feels complex or unpredictable, customers lose confidence and they'll look elsewhere. So when you look at these three challenges together, tech stack complexity, operational efficiency, and customer experience, you start to see the real problem. And it's not just about infrastructure, it's about delivering AI as a scalable, repeatable, reliable product. And that's exactly where automation becomes critical. But let's put a pin in this and take a look at what challenges come just from these three core issues. Too much complexity, not enough velocity, and it's only getting harder from here. So when we talk to customers today, we hear the same thing over and over. Infrastructure is getting more complex, but the business expects faster delivery. That gap will keep growing. Let's dive into four major infrastructure challenges that come with those three core ones we just talked about. So, number one, multi-cloud complexity. Most teams are running across multi-clouds and on-prem environments, but every provider has different tooling, APIs, and security models. That creates inconsistency in networking, identity, and storage, and makes it harder to scale services reliably. Instead of moving fast, teams will spend their time just trying to make everything work together. Two, visibility and control. As environments grow, visibility gets worse. Teams don't have a clear centralized view of their clusters, workloads, or health. Tooling becomes fragmented and governance becomes harder. Even your GitOps principles start to break down when the cluster state starts drifting across environments. Number three, regulation and compliance. Compliance is becoming a major challenge with AI products. Requirements around data privacy, audit trails, and cybersecurity are increasing. But without consistency and visibility, meeting regulations becomes manual, slow, and risky. Four, emerging AI requirements. And with AI, this adds a whole new layer of requirements. Organizations need to onboard GPU hardware much faster, improve GPU utilization, support multi-tenancy, and make their workloads portable. But without automation, all that just becomes very difficult and expensive. So the takeaway is really simple. Modern infrastructure is harder to manage than ever, and without automation, teams can't move at the speed that AI demands. Now, let's hand it off to Ben, who will cover how we at Mirantis solve these critical infrastructure challenges.
Thank you, Angelica. All right, so now let's take a look at how Mirantis addresses these problems. We created k0rdent AI, a full stack solution that offers a turnkey AI infrastructure experience. With true multi-tenancy, you can safely slice and share GPUs across teams without noisy neighbor issues. This is useful for teams building a shared GPU platform like NeoClouds, and it's also valuable for enterprises that need strong isolation and control. Built for compliance, it continuously checks for drift, keeping your environment aligned and within policy. k0rdent AI offers tools for observability, governance, and cost control, so you can maintain visibility over clusters across clouds. It's open and composable, so you can integrate with existing tools without vendor lock-in. And finally, it includes a curated catalog, so teams can quickly bootstrap their desired services. Now let's take a closer look at how k0rdent AI actually works. KCM uses cluster templates as versioned blueprints to streamline cluster provisioning. A cluster template includes infrastructure settings such as cluster configuration, security controls, and operational features. By streamlining cluster provisioning, This ensures clusters are consistent across environments and providers, such as AWS, Azure, and GCP. Simplifying setup and troubleshooting helps workloads behave as expected. KSM uses service templates to standardize how platform services are bootstrapped and updated. A service template includes deployment method, configuration values, health settings, hardware requirements, and version controls. This keeps services consistent across clusters, preventing configuration drift and reducing manual lifecycle management. And finally, KOF enables you to monitor platform health, GPU utilization, and cloud costs across clusters and regions. This way, spend and resource consumption don't become a blind spot, so teams can stay accountable. By providing clear visibility, this eliminates the need for multiple observability tools and reduces operational overhead. Now I'll pass it back to Anjelica, who will walk us through the demo.
All right, so let's go ahead and see all of this in action. So I have on screen a demo QR. So if you scan this, it should take you to the demo so you can follow along. So I'm going to give a couple of minutes so people can scan. All right. And then now let me go ahead and showcase our demo. So here I have the k0rdent AI UI. So we're going to show how we're going to provision clusters. We're going to provision services, and we're all going to use them as templates so we can show how fast it is to actually start creating the infrastructure you need with the services required in just minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and create a cluster first. So first I'm going to go into the clusters menu, create cluster, and then I'm just going to enter my name. So Anjelica cluster. Simple enough. Then we're going to go ahead, select the namespace. And then here I have a couple of templates available. So I have AWS, Azure, bare metal, vSphere, you name it. So if you click the AWS option, we have a couple of templates here. So I'm going to use the AWS EKS 103 template. So if I go click that, I can put in my AWS credentials up here. And then I have two options. So I can edit my cluster configurations using a form editor, or I can use the YAML tab. Okay, then I can add add-ons here by expanding this menu. And as you can see, it's also in YAML form. And then I can add cluster annotations. And then we have cluster labels. So the point of all this is that you can still create your EKS cluster, but it gives you a lot more wiggle room and freedom. So you can customize your cluster as you like, or as like your customer would want it. It basically allows you to create these clusters and tailor it to your use cases. So we can add these cluster labels, and they're all in YAML. So here's the EKS cluster name. So we're going to put the name of the EKS cluster here. We're going to add the region. So US West -1. And then we have the cluster identity, cluster network, everything you would need to get your cluster off the ground. So as we're looking through, we have all these different fields so you can tailor however you like. Then we have the labels. So the way labels work is that if you want to tag a service onto your cluster, so for example, if I want to put Prometheus onto my cluster, I can just label it Prometheus. So that way I can sort all the clusters by what services they use. Or, you could be creative. You use these labels like, okay, these are this team's clusters, and I will label it as such. So this makes it a lot easier to sort your clusters and find the clusters that you need. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add multiple labels and then create cluster. So now that we've created a cluster, let's go ahead and see what kind of information that we can observe and monitor. So let's go ahead and go to cluster details. So I'm going to go ahead and click this AWS cluster I have available. And then I'm going to review the cluster labels. So here is where all the labels would be. So I can put it by services, by like what teams are using it, etc. And then we have the status conditions. So now we can see like, okay, my cluster is ready. It's operational. And then I can see if there's any errors in real time. And then next we have the namespace field here with the properties. And then we could see what template we use. So it was the EKS 103 that we had before. And then we have the actions button. So this one will allow you to quickly do actions such as editing, downloading your kube config, download your YAML, or delete the cluster if needed. So if I'm going to go edit, I can actually just edit the control plane nodes right away. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. And then once I'm satisfied, I'm going to hit save. Now let's say that there's more updates I want to make to my cluster. I can go into the YAML editor and switch to the advanced configuration mode. So I can look through here and start looking at all the fields that I can edit. And then once I'm satisfied, I can go ahead and put save changes. So now that we have a cluster ready, it's time to actually start adding the services onto the cluster. And how we do it is a lot like creating the clusters. So while you're provisioning the clusters, you can also start provisioning multiple services to add to said cluster. So all I have to do is click on services. And then I'm going to go ahead and click the deploy service button to create and configure my new service. So I'm going to give it a unique name. So I'm going to say it my service. And then we have to modify the priority field value. So it means like which service gets deployed first, right? So I can set this to 100, 200, 500, whatever, right? And then sync mode. So this will allow you to continuously sync with the target clusters. And then here's the cluster selector, which you can choose like which clusters I want to put this on. And then I'm going to add the services. So what it is you're building one service that can have multiple services in it. So for example, I'm making this one service, and let's say I'm doing this for one cluster. I can start stacking on all the clusters I need. I can start stacking on all the services I need. So I don't have to worry about that operational overhead because it's in one service. So here I'm going to add Prometheus. And then all I have to do is select the service template. So what I do is I select the Prometheus monitoring template. Then I'm going to put the default namespace. And then here I can actually start editing the template. So I can add Helm values but in the YAML format. All right, now let's say I want to put in another service. So all I have to do is add another service, click the service template dropdown, and then I can add another service on there, make sure everything's correct. Then I can click create service button to finalize my services. Then let's take a look at what we can monitor with our services. So here I have a service available. And then we can look and see the service template, what template that I used. We can look at the cluster selector, the status conditions of my service. And if needed, I can delete the service just from clicking the button. So I'm going to go ahead and take a minute. So I'm going to review what we just saw here today. So I created a cluster, an EKS cluster using a template. And by doing that, all I had to do was start clicking on drop-down menus and tailoring the cluster how I want it to be, or how my use case is. And then I was able to monitor the cluster immediately after creating it. And then I said, okay, I have a blank cluster here. Let's start stacking on the services and make it easier to manage by putting it all in one. So I created another service. I put Prometheus in there, and then I put another service in there, and it bundled up into one service. Then I can actually bootstrap that one service I made with all the multiple services on it onto the cluster. So I did all of this in just a matter of minutes. And easily I can go back and I can look into my services and I can look into my clusters and monitor their health in real time. So as you can see, it is a lot faster and can get me from my idea of what my AI product should look like and have at least the foundation or the infrastructure ready so I can actually start innovating and creating the AI product that I want to make, right? So that said, let's go back to our presentation. And I'm going to hand it off to Ben, who's going to take care of the key takeaways.
Right. So k0rdent helps you across 3 phases of the journey: develop, manage, and ship. Develop apps faster using templates. Using templates removes months of manual infrastructure setup, so teams can get straight to building their applications. Manage clusters and services all in one place. Everything runs through a single control plane, giving you visibility and control across multi-cloud deployments. And ship AI apps fast, which are reliable, scalable, and ready to be on the market. With lifecycle management and built-in observability, your infrastructure is ready to scale as AI workloads grow. All right, thank you everyone for joining and taking the time out of your day to be here. That is going to be the end of the webinar.
Thank you, everyone. If you'd like to learn more, you can go ahead and visit us at mirantis.com. I have a QR code up there, so you can go ahead and visit us and maybe book a demo, get to learn more about k0rdent AI. And I hope this session was very informative and was able to help everyone out today. Thank you. Hope you guys all have a great day.